I want to talk to you about music and heritage in particular. So I don't know if you've heard about this artist. Her name is Rina Sawayama. So she is an amazing artist. She brought out an amazing album. I think it was titled after her surname. So Sawayama. If I've said it wrong, please forgive me. Right. So this album has a lot of critical acclaim, and you would think that it would be, getting nominated for awards, Brit Awards, Mercury Music Prize Awards, etc. But because of her heritage, she isn't eligible. Now, what I mean by that is, so she was born in Japan, and she moved to the UK when she was a toddler. So she pays taxes in the UK, all of that good stuff, but she's not a British national. So therefore, she's not eligible to be nominated or receive a Brit Award or a Mercury Music Prize. So it's a tricky one. So what is this idea of Britishness? What makes you a Brit?
Do you know what? I think that's a layered question. I think I have to talk about what does British mean to me, because I think what British means to me and what it means to general British society, two very different things. So I think to me, someone who's British is someone who lives or has lived for a portion of their life within the United Kingdom, someone who pays taxes, and somebody who identifies with being British, someone who claims being British. And that's still pretty vague. So let me say, for example, my dad wasn't born in this country. He came over on his British passport, but he was Jamaican. He's lived in this country for over 40 years. All of his children, all of his grandchildren are here. He's going to retire in the country. And he would count himself, I would say, as now a British person. And for me, I'm just kind of like, her living in this country for the entire life, Rina Sawayama, her living in this country for her entire life, contributing to this country, paying, living here. I think the passport, having that red book, I just feel like they really need to review these rules and laws, because I think it's more than just a red book. You can live here your whole life and identify with being British and then be told at the drop of a hat, but you're not.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
What are you going to say, Lisa? I'm sure I've seen American acts win Brit Awards. Like, I'm pretty sure in
I think international
in the international section.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I was kind of lost. Sorry, Luanda, go ahead.
But I think the painful thing for me is like we mentioned, Rina has been in Britain for longer than some of the other nominees have been alive. Like, we need to actually just fathom that for a second. Yes. I think for me, especially, like, I think, what you said, Sophie, was very relevant, because like our version of Britishness is not going to be what most people see it. And the reality is that most gatekeepers relate Britishness to whiteness. Yeah. And I remember having this conversation with my friend when I was very young, because people have always treated me like I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not allowed to be here. I'm misplaced. I'm supposed to be somewhere else. And she kind of like opened my eyes on this a little bit. I was quite young, but she said to me, Luanda, your parents were born in England, and she's a white girl, and her parents were not born in England, but people are going to see her as unquestionably English when they look at her. And that's because of your skin and not your background. So I'm very reluctant to believe that the problem is paperwork, when for me, it really seems like you're trying to preserve a certain type of nationality.
Yes.
So let's say this artist blows up now and goes on to win Grammys. You know damn well they're going to claim she's a British artist.
100%.
They're going to be celebrating her. You know it. Like, it's just so disgusting. It's like, this woman is contributing to our taxes, our NHS. She's made an amazing piece of work. But because she hasn't got one thing, she's not allowed to be. But listen, I hope she blows. I honestly hope that her star rises, and just in their faces, like.
I think people with indefinite leave to remain should absolutely be able to vote and should absolutely be eligible for these awards. And it really just feels like, as a highly melanated person, you cannot catch a break. Like, there is no place that you can go to be highly melanated in peace. And we see it with the Rena situation, which hurts me because I really like her. And we saw it with the Windrush situation, where people who had been settled in Britain for decades, for longer than the people who were trying to remove them. You know what I mean? They've been settled in Britain for longer than that. And we see it with the Shamima Begum situation, where the rife Islamophobia in this country and the adultification of black and brown kids saw to it that she was never seen as a child, and she was never seen as a victim, and she was most definitely never seen as British.
Yeah, I guess
our situation's a bit tricky.
Well, I guess for those who don't know,
it's a
little bit sticky.
Yeah, for those who don't know about Shamima Begum, she was someone who was born in the UK to parents who were Bangladeshi, but born here. So technically, she's a British citizen, has a British passport. At the age of 15, she went over to become an ISIS bride. And then 4 years later, wanted to come back into the country, but has had her citizenship revoked. And now she's still trying to get back in. The High Court has now, ruled that she can come back to plead the case in the UK. So it's still being undecided as to what's going to happen there.
But I think my frustration with that issue is that she was never seen as a child who was groomed, which is absolutely what happened to her. Yeah. And if you had like a girl that looked like Madeleine McCann, I'm not sure how to say that girl's surname, even though she's training every week. If you had a girl that looked like Madeleine, if you had a girl that looked like that, who was groomed online to becoming an ISIS bride, you would be so stressed. She's a child and she's about to be married to like men that she doesn't know. She's going to a different country that she's never been. She's experiencing this culture. Like there's so many variables that it kills me to see this girl not being protected, and not only not be protected, but be mocked for trying to, because like the grim details of it are that she's now in refugee camps and she's given birth to children that aren't surviving. She's trying to come home to keep her children alive. Like this should be like, people should be feeling as much pain, as she does, but because she's brown and because she, is in Islam, they don't see her as a child. They don't see her as a victim. They will never see her as innocent.
Yeah, I think this country just has a lot more work to do. In the way that they need to progress, because, you know, they love to say, oh, we're such a multicultural society, and we do have so many.
And by that they mean we have curries at the fish shop.
By that they mean London.
Luanda, yeah. Madeline McCann is going to come out of hiding to come and talk to you about what you said about her earlier.
I am.
Yes. What I'm saying is they love to say we're a multicultural society, but but not when it counts, if that makes any sense. Yeah. Because when our place isn't valid, us being here, the space that we take up isn't something that they celebrate if it's not in the way that they want it. I feel really sorry for her. It's just a horrible thing. If somebody turned around to me and said I wasn't British, I would just lose it. I've never had anyone in Britain say that, but like, for example, when I go on holiday, like years ago when I went on holiday to Turkey, they were like, oh, where are you from? I went, London. And they went, no. And I said, I'm from London. And they were like, no, but your colour. They kept calling me chocolate girl, which was a whole other thing. But they're like, chocolate girl, you're not from London. I said, I'm from London. I was born there. And they said, but you can't be. And it was just this whole idea that British people look one way, and maybe before they did, but not now they don't. And so I think this country has a lot more work to do.
Yeah.
And I think
black women in Turkey.
I think that's black women in Turkey.
No, I'm saying black women in Turkey is a whole situation, Anissa, because I went there with my family.
Black women
not saying that they have black, like it's
no,
it's
I'm
just
asking what's going on.
It's a fetishization. They haven't seen that many black women apart from being on the telly. So you're saying you got called chocolate girl, and me and my mum and my sister, we were being called Whitney, Beyonce and Rihanna, because the only black women that you know are from the ones on MTV. Yeah. And I remember like dealing with the hounding, because the men would literally hound us for their attention because of, not like because of pure reasons, but because of fetishization. I remember being in the marketplace and trying to buy something. You know, they're always calling to you, buy this, buy this, buy this. Yes, hey, lovely. Yes. Hey miss, I'm walking past, they're calling me 1,000 different names. Hey, and then eventually it gets to, hey N-word. And I turn around like, what did you just say to me? And he's like, oh no, I said brother. I'm like, you didn't. So that's why earlier when we're talking about anyone who's non-black, I don't care if you're a person of colour who's non-black or a white person, like the weight that the word holds coming out of your mouth just cuts different.
Yeah. And I think this is my issue. Like, bringing it back, people don't want to see us as British when we go abroad, even though we might identify, and I do, I identify as someone who's Black, British, Caribbean. They're all parts of me. And in the UK, we can say with like Rina Sawayama that, you know, a passport would make her British. But in the UK, the way that society holds it is probably if you're born here, they'll say, okay, you're British. If you are probably white, okay, well, likely British if you have a passport. And if you contribute to society in a good way, okay, you can be British. And if you hold up British ideologies, they're like, okay, you're British. You break any of those, they are quick to say you're not British, even if you have a passport. So let's say if you aren't white, then immediately they're like, well, go back to where you come from. I'm from here.
Yes.
Like, I'm from here.
Yes.
If you break the law, I've known guys who have broken the law and they've been deported quick time, even though they've had their leave to remain here. Also, if you even question the way that systems are run, this is racist, that's racist, go back to where you came from. You're like, I am from here. I have a British passport. If that's all you need to call me British, I have that. But anytime I break one of your taboo rules about being British, then suddenly you want to revoke my card. And I think with Shamima Begum, the thing that makes me so upset about that is that there's only like 3 reasons why you can revoke someone's citizenship. One is if it's in the public good, but not if it's going to leave them stateless. And they were saying another one is if it's somebody who got their citizenship by fraud, or somebody who has done an action to harm the UK, and if they have nowhere else to go. And they said, oh, her one was for the public good. That's why we've not made her a citizen. But I'm just like, she was born in this country. They're trying to say she's not stateless, listen to this, because her family's from Bangladesh. So technically, she's a Bangladeshi, even though she wasn't born there. And I'm just
but the Bangladeshi government said I'm not involved.
Well, this is the point.
What now?
Because Bangladesh is like, she wasn't born here. She's not Bangladeshi. She was born in your country. And when they say somebody has to be, you can't leave someone stateless. So, for example, if Boris Johnson got his citizenship revoked, he's stateless. Literally, there is nowhere else. You probably had generations on generations on generations who are British and born here. So, like, you have nowhere to go. But for us, they'll revoke our citizenship and be like, well, Sophie, your dad was born in Jamaica, so you're not stateless. I'm like, I have never been there for more than 2 weeks at a time. So how is that my country?
Yeah.
It's just, I'm sorry, guys.
No,
I got my
it's stressful
about that one.
I'm sorry.